Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Starfield Raw. This is episode 20. I might have like cheering and fanfare in the background. We hit the big 2-0, and I am joined by the co-hosts that I would never want to do this show without, or have do it with anyone else, but these two gentlemen, starting with...
We can't celebrate 20. We got to wait for one more episode. Why? Because then we're legal.
And we are joined...
Technically, we did do a 0.5 episode, so...
Hey, you're talking out of order, sir. Mr. Archon.
Mr. Archon doesn't understand his place. Okay.
We are excited to do this show for you guys. Rook and I had a random happenstance chance that led into something awesome, and this show is going to be largely about that, which we'll get into that a little bit later. If you listen to Raw and Nerdy, you kind of know already what's coming, but we also have some bonus content coming for you guys after the show. So when you look at this show and it's an extra long episode, it's because of that. All right, so we're going to get into our weeks, because I had a great week. I play Starfield a lot more than I normally do this week. I just can't get enough of it. Mm-hmm. But before I do, I'm going to let my co-host start their week.
Oh, my week was pretty light on Starfield. I've been exploring the Tau Ceti system. So when I do my explorations, I don't just land on the planet and do a quick scan and leave. I actually land on the planet, make sure all the zones on the planet say I've hit 100% for all the biomes.
I really have to try that one of these days, you know?
What do you mean?
Just go do what you do. Just 100% a planet.
It can be a pain in the butt, especially when you're sitting there trying to find the small creatures that are like inch or two off the ground in height, and you're trying to find them. It can, and if it's a high flora planet, then it's going to be really hard to see those people or those creatures.
Especially little tiny ones.
Small tip of the day. Use your scanner and then they glow.
Yeah, they glow, but if they're usually you'll usually find 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah.
And it gets really tricky, even if you're using your scanner to find them.
You know what's funny is I was wondering why they have all the bugs are so big on these planets, and I thought about it for a second. Can you imagine having to find some kind of like alien necrotic flea?
Well, my biggest problem when I'm exploring is like I'll go through and I'll be like, where the heck is this last stupid thing that I can't find? And it's always in the water. Always. And then it'll just click and be like, oh yeah, I haven't checked the beaches yet. It's probably out in the middle of the water. And then I gotta go find the ones in the water. And then...
The rare times I'm looking for animals on a planet, I always think of Rook in the back of my mind. In the water.
Yeah, because the planet, every biome, it'll say biome complete wherever you land. And then you land, you zoom into the map so you can get as close to the water as possible. And remember where the water is when you're looking at your map. So that way when you get off your ship, you run in that compass direction and run to the water. I've done that on several planets already. But so far, the only systems I have fully explored are R.A.W, and there's a couple more right after that I've fully explored. I'm knocking out Tau Ceti. I'm finished with Tau Ceti. I'm actually on another system just south of, or not south, on the map below Alpha Centauri. So I'm going from left of the map to the right. I'm going to hit all of them. I do not like just landing on a planet, scanning, and then going. I actually, if it's a planet with beautiful scenery, as soon as I land, I'm looking for good shots. So it's been busy. And then I also decided to build a ship.
Yeah?
I got tired. I think I showed a picture of it in chat.
Yeah, I saw it in the Discord.
Looks pretty cool too.
I modified originally I modified the Mantis, the Razor Leaf, but then I did away with that one when I had enough money and completely rebuilt a new ship. Oh, I heavily modified an existing one in game that I stole. But the most important thing with Starfield for me happened at LA Comic-Con this last weekend, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I didn't have near as much Starfield content this week as these guys because unfortunately I did not get to go to the Comic-Con and participate in the coolest thing ever.
But guys, I'm going to use this opportunity. all three of us are going to WonderCon 2024 in March.
We already bought the tickets, so we are going as a team.
We're going to be there for all 3 days. And we were talking about it. We talked a little bit on Raw and Nerdy, but we would like to do something like a meet and greet, a get together, like a dinner somewhere one of those nights. So if people are interested and are going to be in the Anaheim, LA area, let us know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be awesome to get to meet some of you guys and
if you're listening to this right now, day of this recording, it's still in early access for the badges, and they're only doing the 3-day passes, but it's one heck of a deal.
Yes,
for all 3 passes.
We couldn't pass it up.
Well, I did play a little Starfield this week, a little more than usual actually. I was working on some bases and stuff, and my goal is to try and make the coolest base that I possibly can. And when I'm done with it, I'm gonna post all my pictures and stuff in the Discord and stuff. I'm still playing on my main character. He's up to level 138 now. He's a boss, and we are going to, as we promised last week, we're going to go through our stats a little, and you'll see this guy's just silly.
Just pre-warning,
I'm just laughing.
Archon is going to blow me and Rook out of the water.
Just a little bit. And the funny thing is, why do I have less playtime than you guys by like a bajillion? Like, I have like half the playtime as you guys.
But you've been pretty much outside of the challenge character, been running your primary character, haven't you?
Yeah, I go back to him a lot.
So that's a big difference between our play styles right now. Is I have 3 different characters I've ran through.
That's true.
Same.
That is very true.
I'm back to focusing on my main, but yeah.
Now that makes a bunch more sense. But
and now I'm disgruntled because I can't run my main.
Oh.
But I didn't really get anything cool, like find anything cool this week because I've just really been working on like trying to make a really cool base. So, I mean, I've got probably.
So what have you done for it?
Half into it. I'm trying to make it look cool. I mean, I don't know what to say other than cool. I'm trying to like get the habs to where they're like designed in like just the right way with pathways kind of going around, and like I'm just trying to fit as much as I possibly can into this place.
And Archon's a pretty good designer. I know that firsthand. He's helping me design our Minecraft server, and he does some really good stuff. So I'm interested to see.
It's going to take a while, but once
we want step-by-step pictures. Step-by-step pictures from you.
No, you're going to get a final picture. Just a final picture so that you can wonder how I did it.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, that was pretty much my week.
All right, you guys ready for mine?
I don't know, are we?
I don't know. I know I'm not.
Let's do it.
One of the first things that I did this week, which kind of really lit a fire under me, was I did a video on how to do shipbuilding. I went from ground up. I tore down the Frontier completely, got rid of everything, and started building completely from scratch, and built an entire ship to completion, including coloring. It's about an hour, about 55-minute long video, and you can find it on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/thewidget. And when I get with Rook, I'm going to get the video ported over to our actual YouTube page and get that link information. On my YouTube page, I have it broken down into 15-minute chunks, as well as the full video, but for some reason the full video came out at like 320p graphics, so it's blurry. But I give you the full instruction on how to build a ship, from what to look for on each part, where to put things, how to build it up, and to complete a complete ship with weapons and everything. So that was a blast doing that, and I turned that ship that I built into a cargo ship. It's not a great looking ship. It's not bad looking. And it actually has decent firepower. I've flown with it quite a few times, and it'll gun down everything. It's my first ship. I really put a focus on auto turrets. So I have one facing the left side, one facing the right side, or starboard and port, and then one facing forward. I was thinking about putting one in the back, but I ran out of power. And I put a lot of thought into my habs. Like I have the science hab unit, I have the workshop, and the crew quarters. It's a fully functional cargo ship. I can go anywhere and do whatever I want to in that ship. And I'm going to be setting up bases here pretty soon. I'm going to get 3 of them started, 3 outposts started, and then I'm going to do a video on base building or outpost building, just the basics, and how to do your cargo links to do a supply chain to each one of them to wind up at your primary. because I know that a few people in our Discord have been asking about it, have been confused by it. So I'm going to do that for everybody. And I built a fighter ship, and I had this like really cool design in mind, and it came out looking nothing like what I had in my mind. Looks like complete garbage, but it's a beast, and I got the best engines on it. So I love the ship and it's how it performs and handles. But yeah, I need to do something about the looks. Not happy with it. And today I had the luckiest run I have ever had, guys, on my live stream.
What was that?
Okay, so I'm doing the UC quest line, and there's that point where you have to go to Sidonia to find the doctor to give the sample to him, right? So you have to pay off his debt. And you have those three different ways you can do it, and I do the best way you can do it every time, which is going and taking out the spacers in that deep mine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I went down there and did that, and the first rooms I went into had three different safes, or locked safes. The first two I opened up had legendary weapons. One of them had a legendary pistol. The other one had a different legendary pistol. One of them was silenced, so I'm obviously using it on my guy. I killed an elite, and I got a legendary Tonto. And I've never seen a legendary Tonto until then. I knew they existed, and those are my favorite melee weapons by far. The only thing I don't like about it has that space enchant on it, where 15% when you're on land, minus plus 30 in space. Only bad thing about it, but it's an awesome weapon. And I got an epic or purple shotgun from another safe. So out of the 5 safes I opened, I had 3 awesome weapons come out of it, and I made about 10,000 credits from it.
Nice.
That's a pretty good run.
Never had that happen before, and there's video proof of it on my stream. Okay, to be fair though, that elite is a level 94 elite that I had to kill for the quest. I did save it, reload it one time, and then I got the legendary Tonto. So I did quite a bit of live streaming actually, and then I went to get the rest of my powers. And here's something what funny happened is I went to get one of my powers, and it took me to a planet, and the spot it took me to was this little tiny outpost. It didn't take me to a temple. A little tiny outpost that had no caves or anything. Turns out it is a bug. And I tried, you can't dump the quest and redo it. I tried going back to get another one, and I couldn't. So after about 20 minutes of trying to figure it out, I said, forget it, and just went into New Game Plus 5. And I was missing about 3 powers, which frustrated me, but it wasn't the end of the world. So I went into the New Game 5, was really hoping for an awesome new universe. It's the same. But I decided not to skip the story, so I'm keeping my pattern. Story, not story, story, not story. And I got a really bad roll on my suit and my ship. My Starborn ship is absolutely terrible in combat. I was getting my butt whooped by level 10 ships. Very fast, no weaponry. And my suit didn't have any good... I just call it enchants, but you know what I mean. So I got rid of that pretty quick. One of the first things I did is I did go to the Mantis. I got the Mantis ship, the Razor Leaf, and I tore that down and made that into my fighter because I liked the status behind that ship. And I got a really good roll on that suit, so I was really happy about that. And then, yeah, I started doing the UC quest line, and I got to the main point in the story to where I got Andrasia. I have to have my boo with me when I do the story mode. I missed her. It's been a long time. So, we did get one very useful tip, because I've been trying to get that one skill concealment to level 4, and it requires 75 melee stealth melee hits. And I'm a sniper. I don't do that very often. It was driving me nuts having to do it. So I was about ready to write it off. And this is the tip that she gave me.
Apparently, Widget, if you go to the medical place at New Atlantis, the doctor that's in there is completely closed off from anybody. Like, nobody will, I don't know if it's a glitch or people just have hard of hearing or what, but apparently you can up that stealth melee skill, like unarmed combat skill, by going in there and just beating the crap out of him over and over again. And your skill level will go up. I think you can kill him. I'm not sure. But then you can just, go out and then come back in. But nobody comes to like hurt you. You don't get a bounty. Like no one's after you. It's kind of sad and mean, but just a thought. I plan on doing that. I'm just going to have Sam wait outside, hey hun, love you, wait outside. And then go in and beat the crap out of that guy. Definitely going to be doing that soon because that's the only thing holding me back is like unarmed melee, and I hate it.
It's a useful chip, but that's honestly a cop-out in my opinion.
It kind of is.
It's no more of a cop-out than using the flight simulator to level your pilot.
And I have never done that either.
But it works.
By the time I do the UC quest, I'm already maxed out on my pilot skill.
I use it every time on a new character. I go and do simulators.
That's one of the first ones I do is UCs.
Hey, if it's there, it's there. It's in the game. It counts. I mean, they could have coded it out to not count.
Ryujin, then UC every time.
Yeah, I just don't do that. But I went into the doctor and I stabbed him, and I felt very bad about being a systematic torturer. I'd stab him about 2 times before I did too much damage, and he would hobble over, and I'd zone out and go back in. Periodically, though, he'd run out screaming, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, it's a murderer!" And Sarah's like, "Oh, you're the devil!" But then I just, reload the save, because every time you log in, it load into the room, it auto saves. So I just reload and go back in. I did that 54 times. Went from 21 out of 75 to 75 out of 75 doing it. It took me about 30 minutes. It was hilarious. And yeah, that was my week, guys.
That'll do. Dang, you were busy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and the other thing. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Keep teasing it. Making them want it more.
Hey, but we said last week on the show that we were going to compare our stats. It's been a long time. So, guys, pull out your stat sheets.
I got them.
All right. Okay, let's start off with general.
I would say we're going to do it a little briefer this time than we did last time because we do have something big to get to. So we're not going to go through everything.
We have plenty of time.
We'll go through some of the key ones.
3 hours later.
That's what I was thinking. Locations discovered, gentlemen. On my main, I am at 501.
That's not much different than me. I'm only at 513.
My new character that I've only been playing for a couple of weeks, off and on, is at 170.
Okay, that's really good. That's really good.
Actually really good for a brand new person.
But see, the thing is like the stat comparison between locations discovered and locations explored. Can you guys know the difference between those?
Discovered is you actually just landing there. Discovered, I believe, is actually going into it.
They explored?
Explored is like actually like, exploring it, like getting the flora, like how many floras, faunas.
No.
Isn't it?
That's a different thing. Exploration covers explore. Under general, I think it's when you are looking around on a planet and you scan it. That's when you discover it. And when you go to that location.
Oh, okay. So scanning it would be the discovered. And then, okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Because I have 501 locations discovered and 449 explored.
See, I'm the
449 as well.
Mine's
That's
the
funny.
Exact opposite.
That's weird.
I have literally doubled the locations explored because a lot of times I won't do the scan first. I'll just run to the location. And so I have 240 explored
But are you
versus
really
my 170 discovered.
fully exploring a planet without scanning it?
Yeah, you gotta use your scanner. Gosh.
Well,
You call yourself an explorer?
yeah, because you can explore a location just by running it up to it, and it's telling you, hey, you discovered this location.
And guys, my hours waited has skyrocketed since the last time. I think I was like double digits the first time we talked about this. I'm at 351 hours waited right now and 658 hours slept.
Oh.
Okay, Kaylin's at
719 hours slept.
Okay, I got 148 hours slept, and it's because I wait 48 hours to... I'll sleep in a bed for 48 hours, or I'll wait for 48 hours just to restock the
Okay, so I
merchants.
have well over 700 hours slept, but I have 0 hours waited. I do not wait. I'll sleep, but I do not wait.
I have waited a few times for merchants. I'll go sit for 48 hours to reload merchants and go at it.
I will go to Centurion Arms in the residential district of New Atlantis, and I will sit on her chair until she restocks her money.
Oh, this next one.
So the credits found is actually finding credits. I looked this up. It's finding credits in the world. It's not being paid.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes. And I have found 5,609,776 credits.
I have found 25,728,429 credits.
I need that money bags audio right there. Cha-ching.
This character has found 789,614 credits
For your amount of playtime.
Yeah,
that's really good. Especially being an explorer, I think you would find quite a bit.
Yeah, you find a lot in those abandoned places.
Most credits carried. This is still a far difference than what I used to. What my previous one was. I think my previous one was in 100, 2 or 3 or 4 or 500,000. I'm at 2,037,000 right now as the most credits carried.
Most I've had at one time is only just over 10 million.
Commands, console commands.
No. Credits found 25 million.
I don't get it.
Most credits carried 230,626.
Keep in mind, guys, this is a character who's only playing for a few weeks.
And it's not hardcore like I did my main character.
What about
the only reason why it's so low is because I spent so much money on shifts as soon as I get it.
This might
I'm the same way.
Light. This next one might shed some light. What is your containers looted? How many containers have you looted?
1,162.
Only 548.
2,614. So that explains a little why I've found so many credits.
Well,
I go out of my way to find magazines.
Skills.
Magazines is a big one for me. I go out of my way to find those because they're so important to your character.
Well, we were just talking about this the other day. I don't think it was on the air, but that's one of the achievements I don't have yet is the magazines one because I don't have very many. I think that's 13.
I have 35.
Yeah,
10.
We got 13.
And there's one that you're supposed to at least get every playthrough. It's right there on the dais, right next to Sarah when you first go into Constellation.
Yeah, when you first go in. Yeah. She's practically sitting on it if you get her as a plant.
I've only been in my new game plus 5 for maybe a couple hours. Well, 2 or 3 hours in game, and I've already have 5 magazines in my inventory right now.
Yeah, there's the one up on the eye too. That's pretty easy to find.
I've only found that one recently.
Oh.
This next. I'm gonna skip the next skill because I want to fly through. I want to get down to this one. Food eaten.
The mine is dramatically increased since the update.
Yeah, so remember mine was 0 before?
Mm-hmm.
It's now. I haven't even played this guy too much since then, so I'm actually shocked. But it's at like 82 now.
Jeez, I got 43. You guys are blowing me away on that. And I put in.
I find now.
I recently put in a point for nutrition.
Yeah, I eat everything I find now, so why not?
I drink everything I find, and it counts towards food eaten.
What about skill challenges, guys? How many of you guys completed that? How many of you completed on those?
This character, 22.
162.
Jeez. I have 70.
The problem I have is skill challenges. A lot of the stuff I'm doing won't affect skill challenges.
But my character is level 86 compared to your 130 something.
Mine's only 30.
Yeah. I've completed a bunch that I'm waiting for points that I can put increase my skills at this point.
Exploration, Mr. Rook's main thing here.
That's the next. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Boy, I don't even know which one to start with.
Mine is so awful.
Some of them, I'm terrible. My flora and fauna, for instance, is 18 and 14.
I'm going to fly through these stats. This is a level 30 character that I've only been running for a couple of weeks.
Do it.
Systems visited, 16. Planets scanned, 78. Planets fully surveyed, 67. Planets landed on, 67. Flora fully scanned, 43. Fauna fully scanned, 47. 2 stations docked with, 7 ships docked with, and 45 unique creatures scanned.
How many temples?
I haven't done any temples.
There you go. Yeah, I'm at 184 systems visited, only 246 scanned, 25 fully scanned, fully surveyed. That's it. I'm shocked it was even 25. I thought it'd be like in the teens. 210 planets landed on, 18 flora, 14 fauna, 102 stations docked, 63 ships docked with, 87 unique creatures scanned, and 65 temples.
Yeah, mine's not even showing temples because I haven't unlocked temples yet.
I'm pretty on par with you. Like mine, you were just like a little bit off on most of them. I am not an explorer, so yeah.
That's why we have Rook. He's our explorer.
Yeah.
This character has
not mine.
In the main story, I picked up Sarah at the lodge the first time, and that's the last time I've done any questing.
We would have the ideal 3-man team for Constellation. You know, you got me, the sniper, so the support back end. You got our explorer and cartographer, Mr. Rook.
I'm the Walter of
the Mr. Moneybags. Yep. He can run in guns blazing and have money falling out of his pockets.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into ships. Boy, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I have 361 grav jumps. My furthest grav jump was 29 light years. I have 5 ships registered. Really? I thought it would be more than that. I've been actually trying... Oh, my pirate character has more than that.
Yeah.
On this character, it's 5, and I recently took one over on his live stream, and it was a terrible ship. Oh, speaking of which, one of my other characters recently happened is I commandeered a ship out in the middle of... No, it was this character, actually, my main, in the middle of nowhere. And I believe I talked about it in the last episode, and I could not get back because I didn't have enough of a grav jump to get anywhere off that system.
Oh, gosh.
So I had to go back and save quite a bit, but yeah. Max ships owned is 4. Most expensive ship owned, 912,975. Largest ship owned, 7,954 or 57. I'm not sure exactly what that number entails, but
it's your largest ship owned. I've learned it goes based off your mass.
Yeah, it's the mass.
Oh, okay.
Ship.
That'd be one of my cargo ships then. My largest crew size is 5. I have 8 ships customized. Shipbuilder credits spent, 2,999,000. I have sold 5 ships. I have painted 8 ships with this character. And I have 281 ship modules built.
What's funny is you said you have 281 modules built. I built 132 and I've only customized 2 ships.
Yeah, my most expensive ship owned is 1.5 million. The largest ship, I'm assuming was that same ship, is 11,365.
Was that one of your cargo?
Yeah, that was my big boy cargo ship. Shipbuilder credits spent just over the 88.5 million range. Yeah. Modules built 712.
Yeah. And I love shipbuilding, and my stats don't show that. Of course, I do have 2 other characters.
I have to build a couple ships every single New Game Plus, and I'm a few New Game Pluses ahead of you, so I think that's kind of where that falls in.
What's your new character at, Rook?
All right, so I've only jumped to 62 systems, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Most of those jumps were jumping from wherever I'm at exploring back to New Atlantis to stealth stuff and back. Obviously, because of where I'm currently at, my farthest grav jump's only been 11. I've already had 4 ships registered, and I've owned a maximum of 5. My most expensive, though, was only 372,000. My largest was 2,244. I got 1 crew, and that's me. Ships customized. I've customized 2 of them. It was the Razor Leaf and then the second one I built. And the most credits I spent was 496,089 credits. I've sold 3 ships, painted 2 ships, and built 132 modules.
Dang, dude, for that low level character, that's pretty good. All right, guys, not combat, mission. Let's go to mission. This is interesting.
I'm going to lead this one off.
I was going to say we should probably skip this one just because, we are
There's some very interesting stats in it, though.
Well, it does,
but we also need to get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, we really do.
So I think the combat's a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially one in particular.
All right. Let us have it, Joe.
1,594 people killed on this character. 487 creatures. 135 robots. 156 turrets. 189 elites. 1,879 criticals. 1,075 sneak attacks. Boost packs exploded 213. I've only recently started really targeting them. 14 0G kills. I've used power 1,766 times. Scope kills 1,628. Max damage shot 4,211. I have 103 melee kills, which is shocking to me. But I'm almost all ballistic. My ballistic's over 2,000. My headshots 2,299. So the vast majority of my kills.
My headshots is 2,294.
I got you.
By 5. 5 headshots.
Finish up stats, because I'm going to make y'all be upset with me.
37 explosive kills. I've killed 124 Starborn. I've destroyed 277 ships. And of
What's
course,
your favorite weapon?
it says Beowulf, but that's not true.
Sniper for sure.
Yeah.
Your sniper is definitely yours. My favorite weapon is my mag shear. Most of my stats are pretty insignificant.
I'm a hard target guy.
The one that I think is kind of funny is creatures killed 11,640.
Yeah, because of your farm.
Because of my farm. And that is part of the reason why I am level 138.
Yeah.
Because of my farm and killing lots and lots and lots of creatures.
All right.
So I thought that one was kind of funny.
So this character's level 30. I've only been playing him for a short time, obviously. Widget's had a lot more than me.
Well, yeah, this
And a lot
character's
more
86.
kills than me. I have just around half of your headshots, and I'm only level 30.
So you going sniper or sniper?
No.
Oh.
When I'm shooting elites in combat, because I actually use real military tactics, so I'll shoot center mass as much as possible.
Here's a problem with this, okay? People who use automatic weapons who aim at the head are going to get more headshots, because you're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 headshots per kill. Me, it's one shot in the head, and they're dead.
One shot, one kill. You guys want to hear something impressive? So I just pulled up my challenge character, and the combat on my challenge character that I did, my pacifist guy.
Yeah, I'm interested in that one. Yeah.
People killed 3. Creatures killed 0. Robots killed 0. Turrets killed 0. Elite enemies killed 0. Critical strikes 0. Sneak attacks 0. It goes on and on all the way down the thing, and then ships.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Ships destroyed 3, and that's just the beginning ones that you have to kill.
All right, so I'm going into my bounty hunter right now. I gotta see what her combat stats are, because I want to see if it says Beowulf, because she's only ever used pistols. Remember that.
I'm going to load up my pirate really quick. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Remember to load.
Other than that, I mean, I think we should
get on to the fun stuff.
From Rook, we should get on to the fun stuff, because those are the fun stats.
All right, combat.
This is going to be a long episode, but I'm okay with that, and I'm sure our listeners are too.
She's done nothing but bounty hunter missions, with some questing, obviously, because I had to unlock the engines I wanted. People killed 883. Creatures killed 81. Robots killed 37. They're all low numbers. 138 elites, 468 critical strikes, 462 scope kills. So they're all low. She even has only 1,025 headshots. She's destroyed 164 ships, and she loves the urban eagle. And apparently, she's used the anti-gravity power a couple of times.
Oh, my favorite power is definitely the personal atmosphere. I use that.
My pirate, Edward, his favorite weapon was a maelstrom. So I use mostly heavy weapons and a lot of fast-firing weapons. This is where the stats get skewed. For instance, I've killed 420 people on him, and this is only one playthrough. He only went through one New Game Blast, level 45. 420 people killed, but 1,076 headshots. Because I would put 10 bullets in their head on one round.
All right, so I'm going to bring up my last character, because I want to compare the new character to my level 70 character real quick. So y'all talk about whatever y'all want.
Well, the only thing really we got left
to talk about is the
meat and the potatoes. So
Yeah, because I haven't ran this character in a really long time, and I want to see where I am on par with his exploration. Not his stats, but they were both built roughly the same. Both are explorators.
Explorers, sir.
Explorators.
Let's see.
Kind of like explorators.
Export. People killed 1786, 300 creatures, 127 robots, 105 turrets, elites, 294, critical strikes, 1306, sneak attacks, 314, 34 0G kills. I actually used powers 361 times with this character because I learned that I like turning the enemy and creating a duplicate of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, 3,249 headshots. 221 ships destroyed, and his favorite... Yeah, personal atmosphere is my favorite power on that character, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Because I'm always overweight.
Mine sense star stuff, obviously.
But what's cool is when it comes to not ship builds, but character builds, there's a thing called assisted carry, which I can now run back to my ship over 1,000 meters and barely drain all of my oxygen when I'm fully encumbered. So it's awesome. Not run. Your standard walk motion, not your sprint. There you go.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is it. This is what the big news and excitement we had for this show. If you've heard Raw and Nerdy, you know how this happened, but we're going to kind of recap it a little bit. Is that when me and Rook went to LA Comic-Con, and I want to say a special thanks to LA Comic-Con, we are going to be using at the end of the show a certain panel. But when we got into the show, we first got into the West Wing. We were starting to look around. Rook asked me which direction we want to go. I said, let's go left. But his eyes went right. So mine followed. And right there in a big bold sign was what, Rook?
The Sounds of Starfield. There was a panel for an interview or a panel with Inon Zur, the composer for Starfield.
So we had to go over there, and it said it was starting in like 2 or 3 minutes. We got there just in time. Rook pulled out his recorder, and he recorded the whole panel for you. We're going to be playing that panel at the end of the show. It's about 45 minutes long, so we'll edit it down probably about roughly 40 minutes. But then I kept telling Rook, like, I really want to talk to him. I want to see if we can get an interview with him, and at least a little bit. I was thinking maybe 2 minutes, a couple questions. So we went over to the side where I thought he was going to be coming out to go up on the panel, and a lady comes out, which her name is Jennifer, but she's also at the end of this session. But and then right after her comes out a gentleman, and I recognized him. I was about 90% sure it was Inon. I went over and I talked to him, said hi. I said, hey, I'm with Starfield Raw, and he knew us. He knew our show anyway. We introduced ourselves, and I asked him, hey, can we sit down and talk to you after your panel? And he looked at us and goes, absolutely. And he went up and did his panel. He said, wait here. We'll come back here after the panel, and we'll talk. He did his panel. It was fantastic. Loved it. Came back down, and they led us over to a little quiet space with chairs. We sat down, and we interviewed Inon Zur.
That was amazing because I was expecting I'll give you an interview and whatnot. And it was completely different than what I was expecting. They were so eager to let us do this interview and so happy that we wanted to interview him. I got to show my musical nerdy side during the interview.
Yeah. Yeah, and we will be most likely talking to him. I'm talking with his agent right now. We're going to working out to have him come on the show probably sometime in the beginning of next year and talk to us over an episode. But we got the interview, so don't mind the audio. I was using a handheld recorder, and I got rid of all the background noise. Even though we were sitting down off into a corner, there was still a lot, especially because a new panel was starting, and it was a well-known person, so they were loud. So I kind of distorted the sounds in the background so that we could focus on what he was saying.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Hopefully y'all enjoy it too, because this was like Widget said, a spur-of-the-moment thing. Thank you for LA Traffic for holding us up.
Yeah.
We got in. It started at 2. We literally got there a couple minutes before it started.
I think we walked into the building at like 1:45, got our badges, walked into the West Hall, and by the time we walked up to there, it was like 1:56 or 1:57. We got there just in time, and it was a real pleasure talking to him. Inon, thank you so much. It was a blast. And ladies and gentlemen, the interview.
The opening to Starfield is very iconic. There's only 2 games the opening has ever got my attention, and that's Halo and Starfield.
That's what he was talking about over there.
Wow. I mean, you don't know how much that means to me. I mean, the dream of every composer is
to have that.
create something that somebody will hear, and after 2 or 3 notes, it's like, this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, this is Twilight Zone.
You hear that opening?
When you hear that, this is the Twilight Zone. You know, of course. You know,
of course.
Yeah.
It's like, so, I mean, it means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So for our listeners, we are with Inon. He is the composer for Starfield. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know about that. And you all love his music like we do. We've talked about your music a couple of times on the show. I've actually mentioned off the air a couple of times these guys that I would love to talk to you. Because my favorite piece by far is Silent Orbit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting choice, although also one of my favorites as well.
It's an
But
emotional piece.
not many people are actually up on this.
Yeah.
It's one of our later compositions, because Starfield has I call it, it's like there are like eras, okay?
Yeah.
So there is the era like early era. And then there's the mid one. Early era was 2016, and then it ended somewhere in 2016, 17. Then we started another big batch in 2019, and then the last one started in 2021.
Okay.
And this is coming from, the third one, where we already sort of like established, what we want to do and where we want to go, but it's like, all right, let's try to do something a little different.
Well, that's probably one of the more emotional parts of the game, the main story.
Obviously, but you know what? Sometimes we don't really plan it, but the brilliant brains in Bethesda could adjust so well to something that they hear, and it's like, wow, this could work so well in this scenario. And it's like, all right, let's try to work this in, and that's what happened.
Nice. And it's, like I said, it's my favorite piece.
So thank you so much.
When I first went to the beginning of the game and I got to that point, that's the first time in the game where I actually just turned down everything else and turned the music up and then just read the scene instead of listening to it.
And again, dream comes true for every composer.
Right? Yeah.
Although we always say that, and I always say that the best music for game is the music that when it plays in the game, you don't really hear it. You feel it. If you notice the music too much, that means that the music draws attention too much to itself, which it's supposed not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you are able to create something that is evoking emotion but doesn't draw too much attention to itself, and you find the balance, then you did your job.
Well, you did your job.
Well, thank you. And
Sorry,
again,
well.
we are, that we're all, I mean, it's, we are all, soldiers here that are doing our jobs, so there's like, the artists that are, and the story writers and stuff, and, it's all part of one team.
So, Widget and I, we both actually have been playing since the early access, the 7-day early access. So we have well over 200 hours.
Well, you precede Jennifer. Jennifer did 180.
Yeah, I think I'm at like 230 hours myself.
Wow. Yeah, no, because you could finish it in somewhere 90 hours, but if you go nicely into some side quests, and then if you go back and place things again in a different perspective, like she likes Crimson, so okay, fine. Just she spent some time, like a lot of time with Crimson,
Oh yeah, I've been doing that a lot recently too.
I've been finding myself falling in love with Aquila City and the Freestar Collective.
Okay.
And I really do like the Western themes that you compose on that.
Yeah, I must tell you that this is one of the things that I actually took some notes from Fallout New Vegas.
It actually makes me feel like Firefly in a way. Well,
yeah, because you have this combination of like the old America, right? Yeah. And, sci-fi. Exactly. So that's what, Firefly
we
was.
Thought when we saw that, the first images of Keela and everything was Firefly all the way.
Yeah, and also Freestar is something, again, that we approached later In fact, this faction is one of the newer factions that came to be. You know, they were not like in the original story, but we felt that, hey, we got to bring some of the frontier, you know, things as well, and Freestar was perfect for that.
Yeah, it ties the whole thing together.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well,
To me, playing a game, if you don't have the music that ties it together, it just doesn't have that feel of adventure and excitement.
this is what music does, and it doesn't matter if it's a video game or movie or TV. Music is what I call sort of like the emotional dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't really see it, you're not supposed to hear it. You see the picture, you hear the dialogue and the sound effects and everything. You feel the music.
Mm-hmm.
Our brain is making the separation between what we hear and comprehend and what we hear and we feel.
Yeah.
And it's a very sort of like big distinction
Mm-hmm.
between these two components, and that's why music cannot be part of, you know, like the whole, what we call the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Okay? There is, you know, everything, and then there's the music, which is a different thing.
And it's something I've noticed with video game musics more than movie or TV show music, is when you listen to the soundtrack, it doesn't feel like you're listening to different parts of pieces of music thrown together. It actually sounds like a full scored
And the reason
composition.
specifically with Bethesda games is that Todd always that he likes to start with two things: story
Yes.
and music.
Mhm.
He doesn't care how the game will look at the beginning. He doesn't he wants story and he wants music.
I know Todd.
You know,
And he's so story driven. It's not
Exactly.
even funny. And you have to have the music that ties in with the story.
right. And this is why when I started working like Fallout 4, you know, I started with 12, right? Fallout 3, I started every game of Bethesda I started like a few years before. In Starfield, it's like it's been like almost 8 years.
Yeah.
So we're growing up together, and that's why it's so cohesive. That's why it's so tight. Because like I write something, that they're running, then they're like, you know, sending me some stuff, then I'm fixing it. It's like it's not like everything is done and here let's slap the music on. No, very different, you know, much deeper.
Yeah.
Sorry, I grew up in high school band and all that, so I really like classical music, so I could talk about this all day. How difficult is it to actually bring the different scores of an orchestral piece for, say, Starfield, and be able to properly combine them so it just sounds right? You said on stage that you go by instinct and how it feels to you. You just change. If it doesn't feel right, you'll go and try something different.
Again, it's not about the tools you work with.
Mhm.
It's about the emotions you want to evoke. You know, and there are many, many ways to evoke emotions with music. So the choice that you're going to make is coming from your experience. I know that this and this sort of like strings and piano, you know, playing in this space will evoke this and this emotion. So you have already sort of like set of tools that are ready to your disposal. The only question is like, what do you do with this? How do you work with? And bigger than anything else, what happened when you feel you need to have a tool that you don't have in your toolbox?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what do? How can you either you create or buy a whole new tool, or you take tools that you have there and put together from them a new tool? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're not creating, we're composing.
Yeah, just for an idea on how long it takes to compose a piece. The Unity scene, when you right before you enter to Unity, how long did that that
On
theme
the
take?
average, the first sort of like demo the first like concept, that is complete, usually takes about, I'd say, half a day. That's it.
Oh, wow.
But then, no, it's not bad at all. But then comes the back and forth. Can we change this? Can we do this? Like, we don't really like it. Let's start from top. So, yeah, no. But so it really depends. There are some themes or pieces that I wrote and boom, right in, half a day, done. On the other hand, just for example, Fallout 4, the famous piano theme, is version 29.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. So, there you go.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite piece in Starfield that you did? Tough one.
I'm even hesitant to say. Peaks and Valley definitely has something, because this was probably one of the first pieces that I wrote for Starfield, even before I knew how Starfield looks like.
Okay.
It was early 2016.
And I know that piece.
But it still has the Starfield DNA, but very early DNA of Starfield. But this is why I like it so much, because it was able to withstand all the changes we made and still be very relevant to Starfield. So this is one of my
That's awesome, though.
favorite pieces.
And a good story behind it. I like it.
Oh, I've fallen in love with the soundtrack. I have the soundtrack. I actually fall asleep to it at times because it helps me fall asleep. So.
Amazing.
I'm an author, and I listen to symphony orchestra music all the time when I write.
Well, see,
it's like you said, it draws the emotion. And when I'm writing, it's about the same thing. Anytime you're doing, either like reading a book, watching a movie, TV, listening to music, your favorite pieces are, like, for instance, a comedy, are not the ones that made you kind of chuckle. Right. It's the ones that made you belly laugh. It's about drawing that emotion out. And yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about what you did with Starfield, is it draws the right emotion out from the right areas of the game.
I know, but again, remember that these things are being made inside, and the decision is being made by the team who is actually incorporating the music, interacting with the music inside. Implementation of music is an art on its own that, obviously Bethesda know how to do.
Yeah.
So now I got one more question. You said your very first piece was Klingon Academy, Star Trek Klingon Academy. It's your first game you composed. How different from that game to Starfield was this way of composing music?
I mean, again, it's just about the set of tools. My toolbox then was like this. Today it's a little bigger.
Just a little bit.
So, is it? It's just looking at some stuff that you did when you were really young, and today you're experienced and you're better on what you're doing. So it's like, there's a few good things here, but I would never do that. Oh, how could I do that? But that's part of evolvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to thank you very much for your time talking with us today. I really appreciate it, Inon.
Of course. And so, Greg, and Jennifer Miller, she's our host.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Jennifer Miller Hamill. I'm the morning host on Classical KUSC here in Los Angeles, which is the public classical radio station. But just about a month ago, I launched a brand new 24/7 stream called Arcade, which is mostly like incredible moments in video game music, not just the big hits, but just stuff from like smaller indie games like East Shade, Pentiment, like something that was probably not as popular, but incredible music in those games. And then, of course, incredible moments from like Fallout and Starfield, of course. But what's really lovely about this stream is that I also highlight classical music that was used in video games as well. And so it's a really wonderful place for perhaps people who are fans of classical music but have never listened to video game music because they're like, oh, I'm never going to play a video game, so I have no idea what this stuff sounds like. This is a really great place for them to go and be able to listen to this music and hear it, because this is music that can really stand on its own. Like you don't need the context from these games in order to really love this music.
Oh yes, that's so true.
Yeah, so that's a really wonderful, and it's also a great place then too for fans of game music to go and be like, oh wait, I've heard Beethoven's Fifth before. Where have I heard it? And it's like, oh, it was in, GTA or something. That's where I first heard it. So yeah, Arcade, it's like 15 hours of music, and it's constantly running on a stream. So you could listen to it every single morning while you're driving into work, and you're going to hear a different section of it, which is really fantastic. So it's almost like a little radio station.
Okay.
So is that like an app
for your followers
so,
to know about it?
Yeah.
So this is the biggest Starfield, podcast.
Yeah,
So
you tell them I just finished playing Starfield.
Yeah, we said those were rookie numbers.
Yeah.
We have over 200, I at least have over 230 hours.
So have you guys had that interaction yet that I heard about? There was a guy who played it through 33 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about it on our last episode.
You did? Okay, all right. That's fascinating to me because I was like, wait, how do you get this interaction where you then get to work with yourself? Like,
so
there's a couple different new game pluses I've
there's
putting yourself in.
10 overall, what I like to say alternate universes for Starfield. It's about 15% chance when you go through the Unity to get one.
Yeah.
I got one where the hunter killed everybody in lodge and gives you the and gives you all the artifacts, and then you have to go around and get them all yourself. You have to go to the eye, find all the locations yourself
instead of having it.
Yeah. My only issue is the game bugged out and didn't let me save. But it was cool to actually experience an alternate ending.
Yeah.
And
universe, not ending.
Well, universe, alternate universe. And the fact that they did that in the game, it's just awesome.
Yeah, because I played through one alternate universe after I wrapped up the story, and it was pretty much the same as what I'd done before. So
I've been through 7, and I've gotten everything the same, except for one time. The door on the lodge was solid gold.
Oh.
And that was the only thing that changed.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's on, you can listen to Arcade on either the app for KUSC. So if you just go to the App Store, either Google or Apple, just search for KUSC, which is our call letters, and you can listen to it through there, or you can also listen to it on KUSC's website. Yeah.
And that was it. What did you think of it, Rook? What was your impressions of it?
He's very passionate about what he does. On the panel, he mentioned something that I started right after he mentioned is when I started recording, because that's when I realized I had the recorder in my pocket. So apparently he also not only was Star Trek Klingon Academy his first game, but he also did some composing for Power Rangers. He's all over the place, and he does a lot of the most well-known games that people think of.
Yeah, he's done a lot of other Bethesda games as well.
Yes.
So.
Bethesda, he's also done...
he did Fallout 4?
He did Fallout 4, some Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age...
Yep.
Songs that you hear the powerful and emotional music from, they're the games that he's done, and I didn't think anything of it. And at the time, when I first saw him, and then I was thinking about it after we got home, I'm like, holy cow, every game I can think of that has a powerful soundtrack, he did. And it's like, I love the guy now.
What you guys heard at the end of... Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him again. It was so much fun. He is such a good guy. At the end of the interview was Jennifer. You want to give her a shout-out, Rook?
All right, I want to give a shout-out to Jennifer. So she is the morning host on Classical California's radio station, KUSC. It is Southern California's premier classical music station. She is actually... heading up a streaming service called Arcade. I want to give it a shout out because Arcade is an awesome idea, and you can either download KUSC app, or you can go to KUSC.org and choose their different live streams they have and go to it. It is 24 hours nonstop streaming, at least 15 hours of music, and it's Mario meets Beethoven, and it's well-known games all the way down to the most unknown indie games on their music.
And they pick the right songs, the ones that are well composed and meaningful. And it's, I listened to it a little bit. I like it a lot, actually.
I actually live streamed it right after you guys told me about it, and immediately my favorite song from any video game, One Wing Angel from Final Fantasy VII, was playing at that moment, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like this station.
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually enjoyed that entire interview. I can't wait to talk to him again.
And Jennifer, if you want to come on the air with us on Raw and Nerdy and talk to us, let us know. Yeah, you were a lot of fun to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I think, see, me, like you guys, the listeners, I got to listen to this interview. I unfortunately didn't get to be there and be a part of it, but I think out of everything in that interview, the thing that struck me the most was, and I'm paraphrasing here, when he talks about how a good music in a game, you should feel it, but you shouldn't notice it's there.
Yeah.
It's in the background. It makes you feel the feels, but you shouldn't notice it's there. You should just feel that it's there. And yet, I thought that was amazing.
And yet they have to have an opening sequence that is instantly recognizable.
Right.
And as y'all heard in the interview, there is only 2 games that have an opening sequence that catches my attention right away, and I can recognize it. And that is Halo and Starfield.
Yeah. I have a couple more, but Starfield's definitely up there in my top 3.
I have a couple more, too. Like, for instance, for me, Mega Man. When that music starts on Mega Man, you know that's a Mega Man game.
Mario, man. Come on.
Mario, yeah. Mario's another one.
Very good. Yeah, but that's one of those. It's not music that's really driving any emotional depth to it.
It's just 8-bit music, but those old ones.
Yeah. I'm talking about songs that I will literally not be playing a video game and just listen to.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Like I told him on the interview, Silent Orbit's one of my favorites. When I'm writing or doing anything creative, I need that right mood, I put Silent Orbit on every time.
And it's funny you brought that statement up, Archon, because I was actually thinking of just about to ask that question before he said it.
Yeah.
What y'all thought about his statement about that. And it's one of those things I didn't realize until I turned the music back up. So when I'm playing, because I chat, I tend to turn the music down because I want to be able to hear Discord. But I realized when I turn the music back up, the game just felt emotionally better.
Yep, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the music, I always keep it on at least enough to where I can hear it, but it's not overpowering if I'm in Discord. But yeah, when you turn that music up, it just changes the entire experience.
Yeah, I've had very few experiences in any game where I purposely turned down all the speaking audio and ambient audio and turned up the music and just read the captions.
Actually, I could see myself popping in Elite Dangerous, pulling up the soundtrack for Starfield, and just listening to that soundtrack while I'm scanning planets in Elite Dangerous.
And if you don't think that, it makes a big deal, I will challenge the listeners right now to go in and just shut the music off on a game and play it and see what you think. It's just not the same game.
No, it's different.
It completely changes the gameplay experience altogether. It's so important.
Like what Inon said in the interview, what Todd Howard's main focus is story and then music.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with movies too. Like, you take a movie or the music out of movies and it's just like boring.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is going to be it for our show tonight. I want to again thank LA Comic Con. I want to thank Greg O'Connor for all his help and assistance. You know who you are. We appreciate it. And, of course, Inon Zur for sitting down and talking to us and being amazing. And Jennifer Hamill. So
I want to thank these 2 guys right here for going to Comic-Con and getting this for us because it's huge for the show. Thank you, guys.
Those are last-minute tickets, and they were the best last-minute tickets I've ever bought. Yep. I do want to, again, thank LA Comic-Con because without them, none of this episode would have been possible, and especially the panel that you'll hear at the end of this episode.
All right, guys, like always, you can find our show. Well, email us. We love your guys' emails, your thoughts, comments, anything you want to say to us. StarfieldRaw@gmail.com. Business and otherwise is welcome. You can find the show on Twitter @StarfieldRaw. You can find us on Facebook @Starfield Raw. We have a main Instagram page for our networking as a whole, our podcast company as a whole.
I'm going to put a caveat on this. I know a lot of people don't like following podcasts or not podcasts, but Instagram channels that have very few followers. This was only started like 3 days ago, so give it time to build.
Yep, it's building. It's building fast.
Raw Podcast 1. You can find our Discord, discord.gg, RAWPODCASTS, Raw Podcasts. You can find us individually on Twitter. You can find me at The Widget, WIGIT, and pretty much every other social is the same.
You can find me at Rook213 on everything but Instagram. Instagram is Tomcat_213.
And you can find me pretty much everywhere at the Archon606.
And guys, like always, keep getting those headshots and have a fantastic week.
Y'all stay safe in the deepest black.
Keep reaching for the stars.
With my good friend.
What's up, everybody? So we're sitting here at the panel for the music of Starfield. So this is going to be interesting. Stay tuned.
Coming and name it, I did it.
I want to see how.
And we were like 4 composers that had to do like so many shows. So I was so busy, and one day there was a phone call from someone. Sounded a little bit like God.
Maybe it was.
Like, my name is Bob Rice. Well, he was, unfortunately, passed away this year, and was a very close friend of mine. But Bob was the one that introduced me to video games. And he asked me, would you like to compose music for video games? So you could really imagine that I said right away, no. I was not a gamer. I didn't know that even exists. But I was really lucky that he just kept on like, this is great. This is the next thing. And then I asked, how much does it pay? And he told me, that, you know what? Maybe yes.
Maybe yes. Well, and also some of it, too, it was the draw of getting to work with a big orchestra, too. Yeah?
Exactly. And that was actually the main reason that initially drew me in. And the first game I worked on was Klingon Academy, Star Trek. And I was one of the first composers that actually recorded, live classical orchestra, the Seattle Symphony, with a Klingon opera singers that did sing in Klingon. And all these.
I used to know how to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in Klingon, actually. I'll share that with you later. Okay, yeah. So that was your first experience then, and fortunately it was something that did take you into space. So when you were approached 7 years ago now for this project Starfield, how did that conversation begin?
So I don't know, because usually when I'm speaking to people, they are like mainly a lot of gamers, and here we're in Comic-Con, so I don't know how much you guys are actually involved in gaming, but one of the main producers in our industry and the visionary, his name is Todd Howard. I don't know if you heard his name. And Todd is the producer and the visionary behind Elder Scrolls, if you heard about Skyrim, Fallout series, and one day he called me and says like, yeah, you know what, I want you to meet me at our offices, and I came and he said like, I'm thinking about a space game, and that's how the whole thing started.
So that's just it. It was just like, I want to take what we do here at Bethesda, which is these incredibly rich RPGs, and translate it into outer space.
Yeah, he said like, think about Skyrim or Fallout style but that happens in space. And it's like, you can't do that. And he said, yes, I can. And that's the whole thing started. And in fact, when I started working on it, there was not much of a game. It was just ideas. The plot was there, maybe some art, but that's it. So it just threw me right in.
So you have this incredibly big canvas then to work on.
Exactly.
So when you approach a project like this that is just so huge, where do you begin to conceive your ideas musically?
So Starfield is really interesting because, again, I was never given any real gameplay footage. Even the plot was really vague. So I was really had to go on, I would always call it like keywords that are launching your appetite and is launching your sort of like creative juices. So I went for 3 keywords, and I imagine that these 3 keywords happen to anyone who is being thrown into space. The first one is awe, because it's huge, it's beyond comprehensible. So it's just something that you cannot really grasp. So the awe effect. Then comes the fear, because it's really scary. You don't know what's going to happen to you. It's a hostile environment. It's unknown environment. It's very dangerous. So then comes the fear. But then, the third thing, there's the excitement. And the excitement is what gives you like the last push. And this is what are the 3 components when you talk about Starfield music. It all makes out of the awe, the fear, and the excitement.
Now, taking those 3 keywords, awe, fear, and excitement, what does that sound like?
Great. So, what does it sound like? I don't know. I mean, it's like, think about going to your keyboard in the studio and try to produce something that will be like these 3 things, okay? So you play a chord that you think, oh, this sounds like awe. All right, great, awesome. Then you take a chord that you think is scary. Then you take another chord that you think is really exciting. And then you know what you're doing? You play them all together.
A composer.
And this is how what we call the famous space chord was created. So the chord that I thought together on the keyboard, that was the start of Starfield.
So you referenced a little bit about the other projects that you've done for Bethesda, such as Fallout, of course. You've done just an incredible amount of work, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, New Vegas. And I wanted to ask, how has writing for Starfield been different than writing for Fallout?
So Starfield is a new franchise, it's a new adventure, it's a new universe for Bethesda. So I couldn't really start the same way I worked with Fallout, or Elder Scrolls. It is a whole new story. So I had to scramble any idea or soundscape or melodic ideas or harmonic ideas that I had before. Just push them aside, sit down in the studio, and almost start like I never scored anything in my life. And it was really interesting because I always had something to go with.
Well, I recognize
because every universe or every game somehow is connected to a different. But this was something totally new. So it was quite challenging just to start from a clean slate page, nothing there. And
Silent Orbit.
And this is actually the first signature for Starfield. And if you hear the main theme for Starfield, this is how it starts. So that was a happy accident, which sometimes happened to us.
The music in Starfield is that it not only paints this wonderful audio picture of the different locations that we get to go to, but I think it also really plays a lovely role in musical cues throughout the game. Like when you level up, when you're taking off and you're going to a new planet, when something big is about to happen. Now, were those decisions that you made as a composer, or did you work with someone closely at Bethesda to get those things? You got plenty of time.
You're not really receiving anything to work with. Actually, you are growing up with a team. So you write something and you send it to them. And then they're listening to it. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. And they draw something to it. And then they're sending, the drawing to you. And you look at them and say, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And then you start writing different music or another. And this is like, it's going.
He said he did Skyrim too,
and
right?
not something that here is our product.
Because that's one of my favorites.
No, it's really
the
different.
Dovahkiin song. It's one of
when
my
you were
favorite
working
songs.
with the sound team at Bethesda, what was that experience like when, say, you were putting down a piece of music that you're like, to you, it sounded like this is landing on the moon, perhaps, and then you sent it to them and they came back and they said, well, actually, it'll work better here.
Exactly, which happens a lot because, when you're a composer, you don't get to work with the game. You don't see the game. You just write whatever you feel is going to be right for this scene, okay? And then they are taking the music and they start, pasting them to places. And then many times, actually, if you know Neon City, whoever played Starfield. So one of the main hubs is Neon City. And I wrote music for Neon City, and that was what it is. But then I went to Bethesda, and they showed me, and I said, guys, I think it's wrong. I don't think it's right music. It's too dark. Neon City is very alive. And they said, okay, so write another music. And we're going to put it somewhere else. And yeah, I ended up actually writing a complete different music for Neon City just because I saw it. So in computer games, there's a lot of hit and miss when it goes to what works and how it works. Again, so different than TV and movies. It's a whole new, a different world.
And in Starfield, I'm glad you brought up Neon because you have three very distinct vibes in terms of like the main hub cities that you go to. You have New Atlantis, which is one of the first places you go to. You have Aquila City, and which is very like an Old West frontier sort of place. And then you have Neon.
Right.
So you really had to think in three different ways, correct? When you were so what were the musical signatures really for?
So to me, Neon started like Vegas. Okay,
not wrong.
This was very shiny. It's very happening, but like we know, many times in the shiny and happening and happy places, all the dark and sinister things can happen. So I actually had to make Neon not as happy as we all see when we enter it the first thing. With Aquila, it was easier because this is the Wild West. So just playing it on, and I think it's going to work. And with Atlantis, this is like sort of like your own hub. This is like the heart of the whole thing. This is where the ideas are coming from, and this is eventually where you're going to be launched from for your adventure. So that had to sound very classical, contained, but exciting.
So in the process of writing all these different melodies, you and I had talked many years ago about when you were working on Fallout, you had built instruments out of things that were available in the Fallout world, like playing violin on a lawn chair or something. Were there places in Starfield where you saw yourself doing that as well, where you were inventing instruments or playing instruments?
Okay, so imagine to yourself, like for Fallout, for example, since it's like a destroyed world, then I took just artifacts, like a vase or a garden chair, and played on them because I thought this will sound very authentic because people love music, they love playing music, but everything got distorted. So they, banging their way out music, making music on anything else.
They have, yeah.
So on Starfield, I thought about it this way. Okay, so this is not what we have. We have space. How about what will happen if we'll take a whole orchestra and put it in space? How will it sound? The first thing is tons of reverb, because the sound just goes, and since it doesn't have anything to reflect to, it goes far and far and never stops until it disappears. This is the first thing. Then think about, for example, the Doppler effect. So things are going and passing through. So you have like this kind of thing, all right? Well, I did apply some of these elements and effects on the orchestra that it sounds a little bit wavy and not straight. So just thinking about what will happen to an orchestra if you put it in space and how will it sound, this was sort of like the parallel of the process that I went with Fallout musically.
So when you brought these scores then to your orchestra, what was that experience like? Were you having to tell the trombone player he was going to have to play upside down?
No, they just played everything they know. But then you take it and you screw it up hard. You take the sound and you use a lot of elements. Sometimes, for example, you'll take two of the same recordings and play them in a total different way through different oscillators. And sometimes even you detune it a little bit. And then you play together. So what you get is you get like the main orchestra, and then you almost get like a reflection of the orchestra, but the reflection is very, very twisted. So it plays the same, but in a mirror. And that's what you get. It's a lot of illusions that you need to create in order to make and to achieve it. But this is all the work that we're doing in the studio and not out there in the recording. You want the musicians to play the music perfectly, okay? Because you always need to start from the best recording.
Was there any one location or type of planet or type of city that you did not get to score for, or perhaps did and you can't tell us about it yet, but you can at least tell us about maybe something we might get to hear or something that you wish that you had been able to do on Starfield?
Well, actually, I had this wish, and I must tell you, and you are the first people to hear it, so you're all under NDA.
I'll make you sign something on
exactly.
the way out.
We are on your way out. You'll have to sign a paper, otherwise we'll have to kill you. So you can decide whatever you want to do.
We'll feed you chunks. If you've played Starfield, you know all about chunks. So
exactly. So yeah, there's something I cannot really talk about it in details, but at some point I said,
he's played Starfield a little
I wish I could do something that not only going to be out there in space, but also a different afterlife kind of a thing.
What? Okay.
And I don't want to go too much into it, but we'll see.
Wait and see, friends. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that little bit of information. That even surprised me. I didn't know that was coming. Thank you.
Yes, you got it.
Now, when you were working on the score for Starfield, what was perhaps your favorite moment working on the score?
I mean, there are lots of favorite moments from the get-go to, until now. And for me and for you all, believe me, the journey had just begun, because Bethesda had created this amazing sandbox for you. But there's a lot to fill in with content, with details, and with more amazing stories. But still, I think that my favorite moment in Starfield was after meeting Todd Howard. Just sitting in the studio, putting my hand on the keyboard and come up with the first thing that I said, okay, I think that could be a pretty cool signature for Starfield. And that was born early 2016. So 8 years ago. And still, I think this moment was so far the best.
So when we started off the panel this afternoon, we heard a very small clip from the Starfield Suite, which came out about 2.5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And you and I have talked at length about the Starfield Suite before, but this was really like your first, in some ways, like a proof of concept musically for what was going to come with Starfield. But you've also said that there are things in the suite that are not in the game. Is that correct?
Well, they were not supposed to be in the game because I wrote them freely. I did not write them to any script. I did not write them for anything that I was actually asked to write. But I just felt like writing them. And 2.5 or 3 years later, Mark called me one day and says, like, you know what? I actually found a great place for these. And I said, no. So yeah, that's true.
Now, thinking about writing for a video game, I think there is some sort of misconception that writing for a video game is very similar to writing for, say, movies or television. But you've described a very interesting process to me when you write for a game because you feel like there's a lot more freedom there. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about that, to that idea.
Yeah, so with video games, you are not locked to a picture. You are not locked to any scenario. All you have to do is describe emotions. And this is why when you write music for video games, you are basically write freely like the old composers. And so you will write a piece that has a proper introduction, exposition, development, recapitulation, everything we learned at school when we went to study, and with separate themes and how to develop themes. All these classical techniques can be administered and done way easier in writing music for computer games than in film. And that's why the experience of writing music for video games, to me at least as a classical trained composer, was always very, very rich and enriching.
And I think that idea for anyone, I don't know, how many of you have actually been to a video game music concert? Is there a show of hands? Okay, well, I see my friend in the vault suit here, definitely. I think that there is something about going to a concert like that when you're writing for a particular emotional experience. You definitely have a different kind of emotional experience when you go to these concerts. You're just like, you're drawn in, you get yes, we have this common shared experience of having played this game and enjoying this music together. But I do think that there's something to be said for writing from an emotional viewpoint versus writing for what you see on the screen.
Exactly, and you can always score in two ways. One way is like you see something and you score it. I mean, you see a forest, and you sort of like emulate the wind, the forest,
the birds, and
and stuff. Usually, this is not the way I'm working. I will ask the game producer first, before you tell me where I am, tell me why I am. Tell me the story. After you told me the story, then I understand what kind of emotions I need to project or to describe. This is the most important thing. Then tell me when I am. Is it in the past? Is it in the future? Present? Or if it doesn't matter at all? Okay? This is the second W. only then tell me where I am, which is to me only sort of like how I frame the music and not how I start. So these 3 W's, the first and the most important is the why. Tell me the story.
You've shared with me before, and I'll let you grab a sip of water because we're definitely flying through the Starfield. You've shared with me before that your music for Starfield, you feel personally, is some of your best, that you are very, very proud of the work that you've done. Why?
There's something about Starfield that it is, to me, the best I could put together as far as the combination of classical music, which is the traditional way of composing music, but also modern way to enhance it. Something about the music for Starfield is reminiscing on the past, almost saluting the past. Huge composers like the classical composers, and also great composers like, John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, and others that Starfield definitely is taking notes. But then taking all this world and put it through this window of Starfield. So you look at it, but then it's being projected through the lens of Starfield. No, I feel that the balance that we were able to create, and again together and with Bethesda, between the classical approach and the modern sound design approach in Starfield is unique, and it also created something that is very signature for Starfield. When you hear the music for Starfield, it doesn't sound quite like other things. It could remind you a little bit of that. It could hint on something like that. But overall, the combination is something very unique for Starfield. So this is why I'm very proud of it.
I think you've created a really iconic little 6-note motive there at the very beginning, because it's very and this was there was an article that recently came out that Xbox did with you, and they spoke about this as well, and I completely agree with the author that you can't look at anything from Starfield and not hear that na 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 sort of thing like there at the beginning.
Well, again, again here I'll give you another scoop. The NDA is still there?
Yes, it's still there. You guys saw your NDAs? Okay, very good.
For music, only 2 games.
Actually, the theme, famous theme for Starfield is not the theme for Starfield.
What?
And then this one.
You've been lying to me this whole time. This whole time. Okay.
So when we started writing, then Todd Howard told me, all right, let's do the main theme. And I did the main theme. We had about 20 something versions of it. And then everybody says, all right, great, we have the main theme. That was 2017.
Okay.
And, so roll credits, right? Comes 2019, I'm getting a phone call from Todd. It's just about the main theme. And I'm like, what?
That's Todd.
We've worked on it 2 years. Yeah, tell me, Todd. I like it, I don't love it. And I'm like, when you see clouds hovering,
or an exclamation point just goes off over your head.
And I was like, okay, I think I know what you mean. And in this very, very same moment, what was the main theme for Starfield for 2.5 years just got scrambled all together, and a whole new theme started. And that's the...
So, 2 questions. So my first question for you, that original main theme, does that pop up anywhere in the game? Or is it just...
Actually, yes.
It does?
Yes.
Where is it?
I'll tell you later.
Okay, later. I'll find out. Okay.
But no, definitely we have the original main theme play.
Okay.
Not in the exact way, but the motif of it is repeating at least twice in the game.
And then
I could sing it to you.
Okay, all right.
Later.
And then the 6-note motive that you did come up with that we know. How did you land on that?
Tell anybody.
So again, the sixth note, if you, for me, it's like there's something about like to do sort of like a combination between duality and three things. So to me, like the duality will be like do a three groups of notes. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Okay, so this is one thing, and it always works because there's something about three that makes you like, okay, when you do one thing, nobody knows.
I'm cramping.
When you repeat it once, okay, you start to get it. When you do it three times, this is not an accident. Okay, so you establish something. So there is something in theme that like a three-part is really, really solid to create. But then, going from a place and going back to the same place, so there is like a duality. I'm going somewhere and I'm going back. This is also something that I really love. Ta-da, ta, this is we're here. Ta-da, we took a leap and then back. Ta-da. Okay, now when you harmonize it, you actually see that you start from a place, you take it anywhere you want, and then you come back. So thinking about all these things, then think about, it was so easy to take the theme and then adopt it to the space chord, if you remember that we talked about the three things, right? The awe, the fear, and the excitement, okay? So I could take this, again, three groups and attach each of them to a different kind of feel. It's just sometimes things in the puzzle fall in the right place and you don't really think about it, but then when you look at them back, oh, this is why it works so well.
And it's lovely too because it also goes along with the idea of we start at home, which for home it's New Atlantis.
Exactly.
We go out there, we see Aquila City, we go out to the far reaches of the galaxy, and then...
Don't tell them!
Oh, sorry, spoilers. No, I won't tell you everything. I did finish the game, 150 hours of it, but I did play it.
Okay.
Yes, and then you do end up wherever you decide where your home is going to be, whether that's Neon or Aquila City or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's something about the game that I really like to play around, and and it becomes sometimes even mystic a little bit, because there is something between the relationships between notes that when you're playing them, there is a certain emotion that is being evoked in your brain, sort of like in your head. And if you know how to maneuver them, you really could create a lot of subtleties with emotions. And with the Starfield music, again, I think that some of it really played a big role for this.
I love that the Starfield music, like you were saying earlier, it does sort of hint at a older musical sensibility. Being a classical music host, I mean, this is something I live in every single day. So it's always interesting for me when I speak to a composer who's writing for a different kind of medium to know musically what your background was. So what was your musical life like growing up?
So I was born in Israel. And all my first my first 23 years, I was in Israel. So all my musical background came in Israel. So again, there's a very strong musical foundation in Israel, which is coming from Europe. So I was really strong, sort of like educated with the classical music, but also the folk music. Right? So taking all this with me and coming over here, I was already armed with a lot of background musical material that I could take here with me and start to learn, okay, so now we're in a new world. Let's see what this world has to offer. But I already was armed with some materials.
Who were some of your favorite classical composers growing up?
So I always start from Bach because he's so different than the way I'm thinking. He's so methodical and I'm so intuitive. He's just everything falls in the right place, but it's such an amazing thing. And I always start from that. Okay, then comes the other side of it, and it's Beethoven. He's wild, he's expressive, he's unexpected, he is everything, genius like Bach, but totally on the other side of the spectrum. And then come people like Stravinsky and Prokofiev and Debussy and Ravel, who took these two very different worlds and put them together, each one of them in a different way, different language, and different culture. Okay, so talking about these kind of things, I love Brahms. But that's besides.
You and I can disagree. I'm not a big fan of Brahms, so you and I can agree to disagree on that. But yes.
The fourth. Okay, we'll talk about.
Okay, yeah, we'll argue about it later. So when I sit down and I listen to your music, I've been enjoying your music for many years, going all the way back to Siberia and Star Trek Klingon Academy. But I sit down and I listen to music from different periods in your career, things from like Prince of Persia and of course Fallout and Dragon Age, and then I listen to Starfield and I go, how can this all come from the same composer? And I know that you keep yourself very musically flexible across your musical palette. How do you do that?
I think it's not that hard because the easiest thing to do is to soak yourself in a great story and a great setting. And one of the things that I'm like a sponge. I could hear a story, I could see a picture, and then things comes to mind and sort of like translate themselves into music. Well, think about it. Right now, when we're sitting here, we hear so many things. We hear the background noise, we hear the blubbering that I'm doing right now, we hear like maybe here and there a speaker playing music. We hear all of that. Now, everybody just hears it and forget it. Now, the unfortunate destiny for a composer is these things are actually being stored. And we never really forget a melody. We never really forget a sound. It's somewhere there. So I think that one of the things is when you hear a story, when you see a picture, when you imagine a world, then automatically like a compartment in this huge, garage here, is opening, a drawer is opening, and things coming out. So you don't really think about it, but it's just there. And that's why to be prolific is actually to listen to tons of stuff, be able to store it, and then be able to spew it back with your own touch. Which is, again, a lot of practice. A lot of practice, a lot of discipline. I always say that to be a successful composer, maybe it's like 20% just like raw talent. The rest of it is hard work and discipline. Without hard work, discipline, and way to work with, it's just never really going to happen.
Very much like a novel writer, almost in that respect, in that you're constantly observing and storing.
Exactly, yeah. And we are all, this is the thing about it. Think about each one of you. You always listen to something. Sometimes things just go away. You let things go. Instead of it, if you could choose what to treasure, what to keep in your mind, and then take this and work it as almost like a doll, like something that you could work with, like a Play-Doh. This is one of the things that people who create stuff do. We never really invent anything. We don't write music. We don't invent music. We compose music. And composing is not creating. Composing is taking components out there that are here and putting them together in a way that our emotions are influencing them. Okay? So that's why we are not like creators. There is only one creator. Okay? we just take things that are out there or in there, let them out, and putting them together.
So we are almost out of time, believe it or not. However, I do have one more question for you. And you already did drop one exclusive reveal for us this afternoon. So if you
you didn't forget about it?
Oh, no, of course not.
I hope nobody heard.
No, nothing. As long as you still have your NDAs on you, I wanted to ask you, I know that, the video game world, the entertainment world can be notoriously secretive. We're not allowed to talk about anything coming up anytime soon. However, what do you have coming up next or soon?
So, wow. You're putting
Not at all.
So I could allude to two things that obviously I cannot really talk about, but there is an amazing adventure games that comes next year that I'm very proud to be the composer for it, and so just look for in a month or two that I could start talking about, but also there is an unannounced TV live action TV show that I'm going to be working on very soon, and it's unannounced. So if you think about an announced show, it's not that.
So he's not talking
it's an
about
unannounced show for a very, very beloved video game.
Okay, all right. So do listen out, look out for that. I know you'll be able to talk about that soon.
Very soon. Stay tuned.
Yes, it's exciting. Well, I just want to give a big thank you to you, of course, Inon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
A big thank you.
And thank you guys for
to my
having
friends
me
here in the audience. To Los Angeles Comic Con, to our friends at BMI and Bethesda, thank you so much. Thank you, Inon.
Of course. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here.